You're listening to the Light Novel Podcast. Visit us online at lightnovelpodcast.com. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Light Novel Podcast. Tonight, we're going to be talking about a whole bunch of light novel licenses that we had announced to us from the likes of J-Novel Club, Seven Seas, Cross Infinite Worlds snuck a title in there, and then out of the blue, not only did we get 2 licenses, but we got them from a company that none of us had ever heard of. So we're going to talk about that too. In the meantime, I am Justus Stone, and joining me tonight, I have Bio Gundam.
Yo.
I have Jean-Luc.
Good evening.
I have Kyle.
Hola.
Hola. And I have Mirage.
Good morning.
And I have Terrence.
Good evening.
You know, I just came up with a really cool light novel podcast drinking game. Every time that Kyle says hola or Mirage says morning, everyone takes a drink. Everyone takes a sip.
Like, that wouldn't be too bad if we did it, like, only during one episode, but if you did that overall, like, 31 episodes, I mean, you could get pretty hammered. You
know what's funny? I should work on a light novel podcast drinking game. I'll add that to the list of shit I need to do.
All right, so like I said, we've got about 10 titles or so that we're going to be talking about tonight. As I said, a couple of them from J-Novel Club, and then we've got some from Seven Seas, and then Cross Infinite World, and of course. So now I want you all to help me because I know I butchered it when I did my video just recently. It's Tentai books, right? So basically, it's hentai but with a T. Is that right?
I believe so.
Someone say hentai?
Yeah, it seems
We're going to have to ask him about that.
Hentai Publishing? Yay. I like this company already.
Well, like, I was just, because it struck me, I mean, I came home and I had been worked like a 12-hour shift. I was dead dog tired, but I was like, oh my God, I had already recorded all the footage for the new release for the month. And then, of course, they come out with this stuff. So I was like, oh, I'm going to shoot like just 5 minutes. And then I'm splicing it all together, and I'm like, I totally mispronounced that. And I'm looking at it again, and I'm like, Jesus, it's hentai, but with a T instead of an H. I'm like, how did I mess that up?
I look up tentai, and the definition says a kind of hentai that includes tentacles. So,
no, really?
It depends.
Really?
It depends which characters
You
it's
think I
written
would have
with.
known that?
So I can't say for sure, but I think the most common translation for tentai would be celestial body. But,
okay.
When I also look up tentai as well. I'm getting like pictures of like Power Rangers and stuff as well.
Oh,
but I think it's on the list of questions for the next recording.
No,
so
I think there was like social satire manga called like Tentai Sunred or something like
Yes,
that.
it's this. Yes, it is. It's Tentai Shinshi.
Okay.
Or is it?
So,
It's Senshi. Yeah,
let's ask
Senshi.
the guy himself. He will know.
all right, so we're gonna have that. I'll add that to the list of questions that we have for him.
It is.
What does
it is already
tentai
on there.
mean? It's actually funny because like I was watching a video where a guy was talking about his interspecies reviewers Gentai, and when I looked up Gentai, the first thing that came up on the search results was Newgrounds Hentai. So this all doubles back.
It all just keeps on keeping on. So anyway, as I said, it was just I looked at it and I was like, how can I mispronounce tentai when it's just that with like it's like hentai without anyway. Okay, so moving along. So we'll just go alphabetical because that just makes life easier for all of us, and it gives us a nice mishmash of things. So first up, we're going to start off with a J-Novel Club title. This one has 9 volumes in Japan, and it's actually finished. I believe it's a complete series, and that is A Wild Last Boss Appeared. The year is 2800, and Lufus Mafal, the black-winged tyrant, great conqueror, and leader of the 12 heavenly stars, has returned. A man wakes up in the body of his MMO character 200 years after her defeat during a player-made event in the game Exiled Online. Now he's stuck in her body, but this isn't a game, it's real. With her reign long over and her legacy one of fear, Lufus must journey through the world of Exiled, looking for answers, possible comrades, and all the monsters her death unleashed upon the world. So, kind of an interesting take, I think. I mean, I don't know much about the series, although I understand it was...
I mean, this kind of reminds me of, like, one of those stories where you have, like, this legendary hero or villain and they die, quote-unquote, but it turns out they weren't dead, and eventually they come back, like, centuries later to see, like, the kind of legacy they left behind. Like, what...
I've read the first few chapters on the prepub, and she didn't die, she was banished in the game.
Oh.
And now some people are trying a hero summoning and they summon her instead.
Oh.
Okay. I'll restate my comment. It's basically a story of, like, someone who was, like, legendary, and them, like, basically whatever happened, they just weren't part of the picture anymore, and then they come back and sort of see the impact that their life or what they've done has had effects on the future. So it would basically be like, imagine if, like, Oba Nobunaga, like, instead of dying, he got, like, thrown into a time portal and showed up in, like, modern day Japan.
I'm pretty sure somebody's written that.
I was gonna say, I guarantee you that's already out there somewhere.
I'm pretty sure it is.
Oh my god.
Justus is
Pretty sure I
Basically
saw
the
this
equivalent of
somewhere.
that. It'd be like, shit, I'm world famous. Fuck yeah.
Like, I just said that, like, when I was talking about that new light novel from Yen, A Mysterious Job Called Oda Nobunaga, I was like, seriously, has any Japanese figure been in more stuff than Oda Nobunaga? Like,
No.
honestly, the dude has been a girl, a guy, a dog, a cat. Like, oh my god, like, seriously.
You know what's funny? In the year 1500s, when the guy was, like, out conquering provinces, I don't think he'd ever thought that in 500 years' time, he would become so world famous.
Like, it's pretty funny. Actually, this one, you know what reminds me a little bit of is, do you guys remember there's that light novel, we don't have it licensed, but New Gate?
Yes, I've read the manga for that.
The manga's actually been licensed, yeah. One Piece Books has licensed the manga of that, and it's kind of the same idea. It's actually a death game, like Sword Art Online, and when the one guy who finally kind of is one of the main guys that helps get everybody freed by beating the game, he doesn't get out of the game. Instead, he kind of finds himself tossed, like, hundreds of years later into the world of the game, and, like, everything that they did and they went through obviously is all ancient history, and so it's kind of him dealing with, like, how do I escape from this situation, and dealing with the same thing, the legacy of what they did.
Yeah, so this one's kind of similar to Overlord as well. It's got a little bit of that DNA as well, where it's, another character or player character who gets, resummoned. And Overlord, it's kind of more of like fish out of water, where they're kind of trying to figure out what's going on. This one, obviously they're going to that world. There's at least one major NPC that was basically just kind of like window dressing when he was playing the game. They, like, weren't, like, a major factor. And now they're actually, like, they have a personality. So it's kind of similar to Overlord, where, like, Albedo and these other characters that were NPCs, now they're, like, unshackled, and they're kind of like their own personality a little bit.
Topic is pretty similar, but the tone is pretty different.
A lot more comedic?
Not comedic, but more carefree. It's more Lufus, the main character in this novel. She's more let's explore the world. It's been changed for 200 years. I don't know anything. It's great. Let's explore. Let's try to find maybe some people are still alive that I knew. Maybe some are elves or other long-lived races.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So it's still only 4 parts out. Fifth
Yeah.
is, I think, coming out today. So not that much to go on, but it has a lot more carefree approach than Overlord.
All right.
She's basically like Overlord. She's still also overpowered. Maximum level 1000, and in this timeline, the greatest heroes are level 120.
Oh, jeez. Okay. Wow, that is just a little OP then. Okay. All right. So, okay, that sounds kind of cool. So a little bit of DNA of other popular light novel type isekais, but with a little more carefree attitude.
Also, it's apparently finished. I checked on Amazon JP some reviews about the last volume, and they said the conclusion was pretty satisfactory or something like that.
Oh, good.
So it's pretty certain. I'm pretty certain that it's finished.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's cool. Okay.
Barring
So
any spin-offs, of course.
Yeah. So it's 9 volumes. Okay. Cool. All right. So next up is another title from J Novel Club. This one I believe is actually under the J Novel Club Heart line, and that
I doubt it. I'm not really sure if it really is, but I'm not sure. They don't say on their site, so I have no idea, but I doubt it.
Yeah, I'm not too. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, okay. So the J Novel Heart line, I'm still trying to figure out whether it is strictly a shoujo type line and like with a lot of romance and stuff, or whether it needs to be more of a female centric line. I'm not sure because this one is the main character is a female, but it's more of an adventure title. So I know what you're saying.
I don't think like I survived using potions or whatever that one is, the Funa title. I don't think that one is a Heartline one. Like I don't think it's just if it's a female main character. It does have to be shoujo.
Okay.
You know,
yeah.
or josei.
Yeah, I didn't really. I wasn't sure, and like Mirage said, for some reason they're not posting it on their website, which imprint it's under. So
technically you don't need a female made lead to be counted as a shoujo. Like there's plenty of like seinen shows that have like female leads. Like if you see the show Nana, for example, like 2 of the main characters are female.
Yeah. Well, no, I get that. I just like I said, I didn't know.
Shoujo's more of a demographic. Like you can have a shonen with a female protagonist. Like granted, it's not going to be the norm, but
I just didn't know. I just didn't know if J Novel Club Heart was meant more of as a genre type thing, or whether it was more of an intended audience type thing. That's all.
I mean, well, shoujo is more typically for girls, so you know.
So, are you going to read the blurb?
Yeah, let's read the blurb. All right, this one is called Deathbound Duke's Daughter. There's currently only 2 volumes in Japan, and apparently, supposedly, it's not finished, but yet there hasn't been a new volume in quite a while, so I have no idea what's happening.
I think the web novel is up to volume 5.
Yeah, that's what I heard. Yeah, but they haven't printed anymore, so I don't know what the deal is with that. It is an isekai title. One evening in early spring, 8-year-old Erica Aurelia realizes she's the detestable little villainess from an Otome game called Liber Monstrorum, the Winter Maiden and the Phantasmic Beasts. As if that wasn't bad enough already, Erica's role in the game is to pester the main character and then die in order to kick off a mysterious series of events. These incidents are different in each love interest's route, and 7 routes mean 7 deaths to avoid. Not one to throw in the towel, Erica knows she must take action to destroy her death flags, and since her life is on the line, there's no time to lose. Her very first death flag is set to rise after she meets 2 noble children from a prominent magician's house. In order to prevent the resulting incidents, the Gold Rush murders, she arms herself with her brother's expensive magical items and heads into the ancient seafarer's ruins. But things don't go quite according to plan. So, yeah, that's the first one. I think, like, first of all, the art on this one is absolutely gorgeous.
I have to agree that the art is really a good one.
Oh, it's beautiful. Oh my God. even before I read what it was about, I was like, I want to read this just based on like the art, which, you know, they say don't judge a book by its cover, but I do. What can I tell you?
Yeah, but at the same time, art is made to sell. So if it works, it works.
I mean, like good art can be pretty, but also invoke emotions. Like, if you look at some of like the old school like RPG artwork, they not only do they like show you a bit of the world, but they also like paint a story or a picture. You know.
Well, I find that, I mean, generally speaking, I find that when you talk about light novels, I have seen very few light novels that had stunning art that were absolutely garbage to read. And now maybe that's just because I haven't read enough.
Project?
What's that?
Isekai Rebuilding Project?
I haven't read it yet. I understand it's not as good as it should be.
Oh, that's a bummer.
I've heard less than wonderful things about that one, which is too bad because yes, the cover is absolutely beautiful, but the artwork on this one I think is pretty stunning. And I kind of like it gives me that, how do I put it? It's kind of like a fantasy Nancy Drew almost. You know what I mean? Like, that's how it strikes me. This like plucky girl who's kind of smart and brave and everything else decides to just get involved in crazy stuff. And yes, she's doing it not just because, I like solving a mystery, but, because she doesn't want to die. A little bit better incentive. Yeah. But, I kind of like this whole idea. Like, it struck me as more of like sort of a swashbuckling, almost fantasy type, like Treasure Island, that getting swept up in these adventures.
That actually sounds like pretty cool. Like, I'm just picturing like the swashbuckling woman going like, her can be hearties. Like, she's got like dual rapiers and stuff, and she's wearing like a corset, and she's like sailing with a pirate flag with her crew.
That's not really her personality.
No, I didn't think it was, but I'm just saying, like, it's the feel of the book.
She's not really adventurous. I've read the first few parts again on the prepub. She's just desperately trying to avoid the thing that set off her dying in the game later on. It's not really much of a spoiler because that much is in the first part of the prepub. In the game, she played a prank on the little girl, and she ended up dying. And later up on comes back as a ghost to kill her. And now she's trying to prevent the girl from dying. And the premise of the series sounds a bit like Baccarina, but the tone is quite different.
Yeah, it's really different. Like I tried to read. I tried to read like the first part on Geneva Club site, and like I can't really judge just by like a prologue, but the tone is really different. It's like when you read like My Next Life as a Villainess, it's really bright and really gets to you really early on, and this one just I might give it a little bit more to just get a vibe of where it's going, but like you get that the tone is more serious, more
to give an example, she tries to avoid sending the little girl to that dangerous place, but events change so that she goes anyway, and now she has to go after her to save her. And also, she mentions that she hasn't played all of the routes of the game yet, so apparently once she gets past the first 4 routes that she does know about, it's probably going to become a bit more of a guessing game of what's going to happen to her.
That's
I'm not sure about that.
Okay, that sounds even better, because it's like like the first 4, like she has a rough idea what to do, but for the last 3, she's like, oh fuck, I don't have a guide.
I'm going to be very disappointed if this is really going to end after 2 volumes.
like there's got like if the web novel has gone that beyond, I mean, like okay, I just cannot believe. And again, maybe this is just my naivety, but I cannot believe that J Novel Club at this point, where you know they're a successful company, they've got a ton of really big titles and titles that they probably got them for cheap at the time that have since become big titles. I cannot believe that they would sign on for a series that was only 2 volumes and dead stopped, completely incomplete. Like I can't.
Also, doesn't Sam like speak Japanese and have contacts in Japan? Like
He would know.
Sure that.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
I just want to bring something up that maybe you have forgotten. But in the case of J.K. Haru, like J.K. Haru's Summer didn't come up as a published book in Japan. It was only web published, and J Novel Club went ahead and published it in English. So maybe they'll do the same thing.
That was kind of what I was wondering.
If they are allowed to do that. I mean, for Secret Organization, apparently it's dead. The web novel is apparently continuing for a third volume to be concluded, but it's not going to be a novel in Japan, and apparently, I haven't heard anything to the contrary, J Novel Club isn't going to pick up the third part of the web novel.
Oh, that's a shame, because that was actually a really enjoyable series. Like, I really liked the first volume. Like, yeah, it was a bit like dry and slow in some parts, but it's like it was really cool, like how he was training to use his powers and stuff like that, and he was like learning what it does and how it works and all that shit. Like, I really like that, because like in most of these like superpowered shows, it's either they've had the power all along, or they have it and they just can't control it. So I like it how it's a nice balance of he's like, oh, I got a power. Well, what can it do? Oh, I can do this. Oh, it's getting stronger. Oh, I can train with this. Like, I thought that was really cool. And then, like, he takes his Chinibio fantasies to the next level of like, yeah, I'm going to be the evil. I'm going to be, like, the good guy / bad guy because I'm bored. And I'm going to make all this fucking bullshit happen because fuck it. I'm like, oh, this is amazing. This is great.
If we ever get Sam for another interview, that's going to be on the top of the list of the things I want to ask him.
Yes, right? I was just going to say, we've got to get Sam back on this show and ask him, like, what the heck, dude? It should be a clause that he includes from now on in the contracts that if the Japanese publisher decides to kill the series, that J Novel Club has the option to go directly with the author for the remaining volumes. That he should put that in his contracts from now on.
That would be optimal.
Yeah, just give the publisher half the profits, it'll be fine. Like, they'll approve that.
Well, I'm sure if you gave them a percentage, like even if it was just 15, 20%, I'm sure they'd probably think it was great. Okay.
Yeah, it's a win-win deal. They don't have to put in any of the work, and they still get the money.
Yeah.
Win-win deal.
All right, so let's move on to the next one. This one is the Cross Infinite World title. And so it's got 2 volumes in Japan, and it's actually an ongoing series. And unlike a lot of Cross Infinite World titles, so this one is actually published in Japan by a Japanese publisher. It's not a direct deal with the author. I mean, speaking of direct deals with authors, Cross Infinite World typically has been doing that, but this one is an actual series that they've licensed. And it is called Hello, I Am a Witch, and My Crush Wants Me to Make a Love Potion. I want you to make a love potion. The good witch of the lake's 4-year crush ended in heartbreak with a single request from the object of her affections. Wanting to increase what little time she has with royal knight Harij, Rose sends him on a wild goose chase for the ingredients, but gets more than she bargained for when the grumbling knight starts visiting her every day. To feed her? This is the heartwarming story of a shut-in witch and an arrogant, straight-laced knight whose romance starts from a love potion. So it's obviously very much in the Cross Infinite World vein of sweet romances in a fantasy setting.
Yeah, I've read a couple of the works they've released. I don't think it's bad. It's nice. It's nice and simple. Very like a nice quick read.
No, like I think a lot of their stuff, it's definitely a very specific niche that a lot of other light novel publishers haven't been filling. I mean,
and I enjoy it for that because I've read a couple of the books they posted and they're pretty good.
Yeah.
Enjoy it.
So
yeah, for this one, they won't have to do any like new art or anything, most likely, because obviously it's published novel. It'll all be there.
yeah. Well, speaking of Cross Infinite World, I'm kind of curious. Again, somebody else I should reach out to and say, hey, do you want to chat sometime? But if you look at the translator, pretty much all of their books are translated by the same person. And I do believe that is the person who owns the company. And recently they just posted looking for staff, like translators in particular. And so I kind of wonder if Cross Infinite World is actually doing fairly well and they're starting to look to branch out because, like I said, this is only, I think, the second title that they've actually licensed from a publisher. I think Root Double or whatever it was called is, and then
I think MF is also MF is also from Square Enix in Japan.
Yeah,
and then there's 2 other books. Little Princess in Fairy Forest and of Dragons and Fae.
Was that published? I don't remember that.
Yes,
one
they published it. I read the PDF like a month ago. Very nice story.
But the vast majority of CIW books is directly from Sosetsu or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So I'm curious to see if we're going to start seeing some bigger stuff. Like even the series that they have licensed have mostly been either one shots or very like 1 or 2 volumes.
Yeah. With Root Double, like that came out, about like I want to say like 8 months ago, and it does have sequels volumes that obviously they haven't published them yet. I don't know if it's a sales thing or again a staffing thing, staffing issue. Because
it's a staffing thing, I'm pretty sure, because Obsessions of an Otome Gamer, that one they have brought out the second volume of, and it took them, I'm gonna say it took them almost a year, if not a year and a half, to get the second volume out. Now, to be fair, if the second volume is as long as the first volume was almost like 2 times the length of your average light novel. So it kind of was like you got 2 light novels in one shot. So a lot of their titles are a little bit longer, I think, because they are one shots.
But also they have also the tendency to not publish any follow-ups. For example, Dawn of the Mapmaker is apparently dead after 1 volume. Beastblood, not that I would want to read the second one, but it hasn't come out yet. I'm not sure which of I haven't read many other of their titles.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I don't know what I do know they have done second volumes for a couple of their series that have multiple volumes. But again, there is usually a much longer gap between volumes that you see with, like, say, a J novel or whatever. And I think it is because it's just the one translator.
Some of that could also, and not I think that's a good point too, but some of it also could be, these are based on web novels. And, considering the amount of content that Volume 1 had, they might need to wait until the web novel has enough content for the later volumes. That
could be the situation in some of the titles. Yeah, for sure. Like I said, it is they have followed a very different model than a lot of the other publishers, obviously.
Apparently, Dawn of the Mapmaker's web novel is at Volume 4 now, so...
Yeah, well,
it's finished at Volume 4. But
okay. Well, and like I said, maybe that is what this hiring for looking for additional translators. Maybe that's part of the reason, is because they do have a couple of series that they don't have follow-up volumes out yet, even though those series do have additional volumes. So
well, also if they only have like the one guy doing doing translation, maybe it'd be a good idea to get like another person doing it, so it's like lessens the workload.
Well, that's what I mean. I think there's, like I said, I don't know the situation. I mean, I don't really have close contact with anybody at Cross Infinite World. I've emailed back and forth once or twice, but nothing extensive. Like I said, it was the first time I've seen them actually post a job looking for translators. So to me, that kind of says, well, they're looking to catch up or they're looking to expand. So either way, I think that's cool because, like I said, they certainly fill a niche that a lot of other light novel publishers are either not filling or are just starting to catch up and put stuff in.
They're very much like the Manglobe of light novel publishers, and that's one of the things I respect about them or like about them is that they're willing to do stuff that's out of the ordinary. They're willing to publish titles that other publishers wouldn't touch because it's niche. It's niche in a niche. So
they're very much aiming for a female audience. Which, I mean, again, I've read a couple of their stuff. I thought it was really good. It's not to say that it's only good for women. Obviously, I mean that's the same thing for.
I think it's more accurate to say that those type of stories appeal more to women. Okay.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely, yeah. For sure, but it's the same thing as like J-Novel Heart. Like, obviously, they're aiming for a female audience with that, and yet, all I've seen is people talking about how amazing Tier Moon Empire is. Which I've got to get off my ass and read because apparently it's awesome.
You do.
And you guys agree with me? Okay, fair enough. All right. Okay.
Yeah, I think I've read the manga. It was pretty good.
All right. So first, this is the next title we're talking about. This is the first one up from the Seven Seas list, and this is called "I'm in Love with the Villainess." Ordinary office worker Ohashi Rei wakes up in the body of the protagonist of her favorite Otome game, Revolution. To her delight, the first person to greet her is also her favorite character, Claire Francois, the main antagonist of the story. Now, Rei is determined to romance Claire instead of the game's male leads. But how will her villainous lady love react to this new courtship? Apparently it's complete with 2 volumes, and interestingly enough, this one has only been published digitally in Japan. Seven Seas is doing a print edition, so at the current rate, it looks like the English edition will be in print before Japan has a print edition. Which is kind of cool.
This story reminds me of that trope of like a main protagonist who like falls in love with a villain, like one of the antagonists, or has some sort of like relationship with one of the with an antagonist, like not exactly like the it's similar to like Batman and Catwoman, like they have that like that type of dynamic where like they're enemies, but at the same time there's a bit of this like
but Bio, this is way better because it's Yuri.
Oh, okay, even better. Actually, I'm trying to. Well, it kind of reminds me of that type of like story beat, and I actually think that's kind of interesting. Like, there's some stories that try and do that, some better than others, but I think the idea of like, because in most stories, like the antagonist is there to be either crushed, defeated, or turn to the good side, but in here it seems like they like that person for who they are, despite how evil they can be at times,
Well, I think it's a nice little twist on this. We're seeing how many volumes come out now about girls reincarnated in an Otome game as the villainess. And don't get me wrong, a lot of them have been really good. I am not slagging on it at all, but I think it's a nice little twist, right? It's the Otome game isekai, but yet she's not the villain trying to avoid her bad route. She's actually the protagonist trying to hook up with the villain. I think that's kind of neat.
Yeah. So this publisher, GL Novel, like they're a very like little niche or small publisher because I think their stuff, like you said, it's only digital. But it's also, as far as I know, it's only on Amazon. It's not anywhere else. It's not on Bookwalker. So
no, it's not. Yeah, I did try to look it up there. Yeah.
Best thing is that it's only $2.
Yeah.
That's true too.
Low commitment series. I like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't usually go for UD titles, but this one sounds fun, and it's only 2 books. I might look it up when it comes out.
Yeah, same here. Like it sounds interesting.
Yeah, and that publisher, they do also have, they have a lot of other small books in their line. They do have one by the author of Exiled, and it's extremely similar to this setup. It's like a running away with the Villainess kind of story. So that seems to be a niche that they're trying to like hammer on.
All right. Well, that's cool. I mean, like I said, it's a nice little twist, right? Like, you know, it's definitely going for that audience, but, you know, kind of not trying to do the whole Villainous thing. So, yeah, it's kind of cool. Next up from Seven Seas, this one, The Saint's magic power is omnipotent, which I think has been generally done in English as The Saint's power is all around or something. I
think omnipotent sounds better. Like, because like omnipotent seems like omnipotent seems to have like more connotations.
Well, it certainly makes it sound far more ostentatious and big and powerful. It has 5 volumes currently available in Japan, and it's still ongoing. Sei, a 20-year-old office worker, is whisked away to a whole new world. Unfortunately for Sei, the ritual that summoned her, meant to produce a saint who would banish the dark magic, brought 2 people over instead of 1, and everyone prefers the second girl over Sei. But this is just fine by Sei, who leaves the royal palace to set up shop making potions and cosmetics with her newfound magic. Business is booming, and this might not be such a bad life after all, as long as her supposed sainthood doesn't come back to haunt her. So this one, you know what? I know that this one has done quite well in Japan, actually. It's been on the top 10 list, even back when I used to cover that, like, a year ago. Volumes that were coming out on that would be placing in the top 10. So I'm not too surprised to see this one get picked up.
Yeah, the blurb reminded me a lot of White Cat's Revenge.
Oh, yeah, okay, I see what you're saying, yeah. I mean, it sounds more like, it sounds sort of like the setup of White Cats in terms of the 2 being summoned together and one kind of having a sour relationship.
And the wrong one getting picked as the saint, yeah.
Yeah, but then it almost sounds like, I'll survive making potions. It kind of combines a bit with that. So
yeah, she's like, oh, you summoned me to another world. I can't go back home. Fuck it. I guess I'll just make potions and cosmetics.
Like, I mean, there's even like a slight touch of the magic in this other world is too far behind, because that was sort of the same idea too, right? That the hero, quote unquote, got summoned with these other unnecessary people, even though the one unnecessary person ended up to be ridiculously OP. So I kind of wonder if this is going to be the same idea where everybody favors the other girl, but I bet you know what? I have no idea because I don't know the series, but I bet you the other girl turns out to be like a bad apple.
A bitch?
Yeah, I bet you she ends up being a bad apple and actually is like more of a problem than she is a help. So
maybe that's why the sainthood catches up with her. Maybe they're trying to get her to come back.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I kind of wonder if it's going to go that route. It could be cool.
Yeah, I looked up the title, and the word they were using for omnipotent in the Japanese title, banno, is translated as versatile or universal. That's a bit of another take on the topic. So I'm not sure omnipotent is really the best translation for it.
I know, but omnipotent sounds like a way more cooler. Like, it kind of sounds cooler. But if that's what it actually like is, if that is like what it is in Japanese, then maybe they should have kept it to that. I don't know.
Well, I think again, I mean, you know, we have so many light novel titles that are so ridiculously long. I'm not going to hold it against them for trying to come up with one word that replaces like 4 or 5 other words. I'll never feel bad about that. All right, another title, this one also that Seven Seas licensed. The Sorcerer King of Destruction and the Golem of the Barbarian Queen. This one...
that sounds awesome.
Well, it's got 2 volumes currently available in Japan. It is, as far as we know, ongoing. It actually has a manga adaptation as well that Seven Seas licensed. In a land of swords and sorcery, a ritual is conducted to summon forth the Sorcerer King, who will bring about ruin, but succeeds only in summoning an ordinary human boy from Earth. Stripped of his name and memories, but endowed with sudden enormous magic power, our protagonist has no intention of destroying the world. Fortunately for him, tinkering with his newfound magic results in the creation of a powerful and beautiful new partner, and she can keep him safe.
Yeah. So I'm not really excited about this title. Sounds pretty generic. Amnesiac main character, summoned from another world, and beautiful, strong female companion. So far, there's nothing in there that holds my interest.
Well, it is already sounding very standard light novel OP isekai fare. That is definitely true. But
yeah, like the name sounded cool, but then it just says that, and I'm like,
I mean, again, the one upside of it potentially is that it may avoid the whole harem aspect of the typical OP isekai, which, I mean, doesn't necessarily mean it's good, but
Well, until he creates a new golem every volume.
Oh man!
oh god,
Oh god!
is he just going to be making like a fucking golem harem?
Yes.
Like, yes, master, we love you because we're programmed to love you.
Oh god, that would be horrible! Horrible!
It sounds it sounds so fucked, but a part of me just wants to see it happen.
Oh no! No,
I mean,
no.
you can't. We had judging books by their cover. When I read the blurb for Wild Last Boss, a male gamer is reincarnated into a female avatar. Usually, any light novel would milk that for fan service until it runs dry.
Right.
So far, Wild Last Boss didn't do any of that.
Oh well, that's good to hear.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I agree. I thought, okay, well, I'm actually happy to hear that because I did think it was going to do the whole, let's milk the whole look at my boobs thing like way too much.
Yeah, but for this one, I'm definitely going to wait for reviews before I pick it up. This is not.
Yeah, like I'm now that I hear that, I'm a little hesitant now. Like I was like, touch and go.
Well, you know, they can't all be perfect. All right, next up, and this one is actually the one from Tentai Book. I'm going to get this right one way or the other.
Tentai.
Yeah, Tentai. Now, this one is actually the title that they're leading off with because we do actually have a release date already for it. It is going to be coming out at the end of this month. So May 29th is the release date for the digital release. They have already said that they're going to do print copies, but because of the whole COVID-19 kind of throwing all the printers into hullabaloo and shipping and everything else, it's delayed. So if you're looking to get
understandable,
yeah. So if you're looking to get these in print, I mean, it is kind of nice right out of the gate. They've said they're doing it. It's just that it's going to be delayed because of, well, for the obvious reasons. This one is a slice of life title called "There's No Way a Side Character Like Me Could Be Popular," right? There's currently 2 volumes in Japan. It's an ongoing series. My name is Tomoki Yuki, a second-year student in high school. I'd say I'm a fairly normal student, save for the fact that everyone avoids me like the plague, because I apparently look like I'm out for blood. Ike Haruma is the only one that doesn't steer clear of me. He's your typical perfect guy in every sense, the protagonist with no real flaws that you see in any given story. Life at school was going on as usual, until one day, Haruma's super popular little sister confesses to me out of the blue? Though she later clarifies that her feelings toward me are anything but romantic, and that she has an ulterior motive, I end up accepting my new role as fake boyfriend as a favor to Haruma. Believe it or not, the moment I start going out with her, Haruma's idle-tier childhood friend and my super hot teacher both get involved with me too? Wait a minute. This can't be a dream rom-com scenario setting itself up for me, can it? I mean, there's no way a side character like me could be this popular, right?
Oh, the preview for this one is up on their site if you do want to check it out. It's extremely brief. It pretty much just goes right up to the confession. It doesn't even go up until he says yes or no, or that whole fake relationship thing starts. So, but if you want to check it out, you can. It does introduce the teacher character and the childhood friend of the buddy.
Yeah.
And you get introduced to sort of his relationship to the buddy as well. But yeah, it leaves enough that you're gonna have to check out either a longer preview on Google Books or wait until it comes out and try it.
Right.
Yeah, like this one has a very, very strong Toradora vibe.
Yes, that's exactly what I thought.
And like, and especially with everything we've covered tonight, I think it's the only non-fantasy, non-isekai title.
Mm-hmm. That's true. It is the only slice of life title in the list. That is correct. So, I mean, this was something that I kind of said in the new release videos when I was talking about this one. And we're going to have to talk more to Tentai Books about this, but I found it interesting that given how popular fantasy is and isekai and everything else, that they would lead with, so they've announced 2 titles. We'll get to the other one, but this one is a slice of life. And I was like, I kind of find it cool that 50% of what they've announced is probably the least serviced genre that we have when it comes to light novels. You know,
Well, I'm glad they did.
Oh yeah, no, don't get me wrong. I think it's great. I am all for it. I think we need more variety. Absolutely.
Like I like my isekai, but I like diversity too, and that's a good one.
Yeah, putting it like equally up there, putting it equally up there, it's just gonna kind of, hopefully build a base early. And I think that's kind of important. If you build your base and it's all fantasy, then it's kind of tough to now introduce this new thing and get people excited about it.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, like I said, I think it is cool that they're leading with something that is, not just in the exact same vein. Like, I think you're absolutely right, Jean-Luc. It's definitely got Toradora vibes to it. I even kind of thought it has a little bit of very small, but bottom tier character Tomozaki in terms of how he starts actually becoming more popular and people want to talk to him because he's now hanging out with somebody who's popular, and she's coaching him through it. I kind of get a little bit of that same vibe, right? Like, this guy's not a bad guy, but it takes him kind of being associated with this other girl to get people to kind of approach him. So,
that's actually funny because I've actually had that happen to me before. I'm part of like this local like D&D group, and like a couple of people have like approached me and they're like, "Oh, you play D&D because I saw you at the." Well, I'm not going to say what it is because they'll dox me completely. But they're like, "Oh, I remember seeing you there. Don't you play with that?" And I said, like, "Yeah, I play there and stuff." So. I mean, you do. That does actually happen because when you interact with like another, like when you get involved in another like group's dynamic,
absolutely.
It's very similar to like a social clique thing almost to an extent. Like if you're friends with one of the cheerleaders or goth kids at school, eventually all the goth kids are gonna like you.
I'm kind of curious.
Or view you as one of them.
I'm kind of curious to see how the little sister's, what her ulterior motive is, and how him agreeing to be the fake boyfriend is actually a benefit to his buddy. That's the other part that I am curious about how.
Well, usually it would be to avoid the hassle of having people asking her out all the time.
Yeah, but I'm hoping it's something a little bit more original than that. But we'll see. Either way, it is cool that we're getting a slice of life because, yeah, it is the only slice of life in, 10 titles announced, which tells you how little slice of life we actually have.
Well, I think one or two others sound pretty much slice of life to me as well, but not in a real setting, but in a fantasy setting.
Oh, yeah. Like, I don't disagree that there's definitely elements of slice of life in some books, but to eliminate, I mean, it's one of the only ones that does that slice of life with zero fantasy trappings to it at all, right? All right, so next up, this is another Seven Seas title, and this one actually was on the most recent Kono light novel Gasugoi, so I'm not too surprised to see it get picked up, and it's called Trapped in a Dating Sim. The world of Otome games is tough for mobs. This one has 5 volumes currently in Japan. It is an ongoing series. Office worker Leon is reincarnated into a particularly punishing dating sim video game where women reign supreme and only beautiful men have a seat at the table. But Leon has a secret weapon. He remembers everything from his past life, which includes a complete playthrough of the very game in which he is now trapped. Watch Leon spark a revolution to change this new world in order to fulfill his ultimate desire of living a quiet, easy life in the countryside.
I want to read this one.
Personally, I don't think I want to, because it's raising all kinds of flags for me.
Oh,
Yeah,
This sounds incredibly boring.
I want to at least read the first one, see how it is, and then from there I'll decide to continue or not.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, Mirage, because even when I was talking about this with the whole Kono light novel Gasugoi, I was like, man, this could get really sketchy really fast. Like it I would have kind of reminded oh my god, I can't remember the title, but we talked about it because it's getting an anime. That one about the whole revenge, the healer, like the greatest power is the healer.
Oh, yeah.
Heal, bro.
Like I was like, man, I hope it doesn't go down that road. You know what I mean? Like where it's like, it's like revenge porn almost. Like I just no, I don't know. Yeah. Like I don't know.
Because this title sounds like Misogyny, the light novel.
Yeah, like that's kind of where I'm going. That's kind of it. I don't know. I don't know how it handles the material. It'll be interesting to see.
It's pretty much the exact opposite of all those.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's definitely not Misogyny, the light novel. It's more misandry. And you don't have to worry about the revenge porn. That's definitely not happening.
Oh, good. Excellent. Yeah, that makes me feel much better.
It's I'd say its comedy is kind of more along the lines of the one infamous light novel that keeps getting pushed back, and hopefully we'll get Eminence in the Shadow.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's
now it interests me even more.
Yeah, it's been a really great read. I would say, well, it's definitely not revenge porn, but there is a lot of glorious revenge going on. So it's been something that I've been. I've been really enjoying keeping up with it, at least on the manga side.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, this one is very popular. It was very popular on the J Novel forums. They had a topic with like 82 upvotes, which is a lot. Usually you get like maybe 15, 20, 30 for something popular. This had 82 people liking it. So yeah, this one is fairly popular with that crowd. So yeah.
Well, I'm glad to hear you say that about it, Kyle, because I definitely was sketchy on this one. Because I really didn't know how it was going to go down. So is it kind of like the kind of things where, like, even though there is revenge, is it also kind of the thing where he's kind of scheming in the dark and a lot of things just kind of happen without him even knowing that it happened kind of thing? Like, it's kind of like the pratfalls type idea? Is that?
Well, it's not really happening in the background. I mean, he's meant to be a background character, so he's not like up in front of the the center of attention. But these events happen around him that he simply can't abide by, and so he'll
ignore. Yeah,
he'll step in a very calculated way, because he's definitely no white knight.
Okay.
He's taking advantage of the situation to benefit himself mostly.
So like
that seems very Machiavellian. Like he's just going in a very like cold and calculated way, and like doing all these like schemes and machinations.
To a degree.
Yeah, I'd say more an opportunist.
Kyle, is it like Classroom of the Elite?
Kind of. I mean, it does take place in a Royal Academy like setting, and there's definitely, I wouldn't say your grades are as much as like how much money you have, what you can buy, who you can buy off.
I'm talking about the main character. The character like the one in Classroom of the Elite.
Maybe. I mean, there's some parts of him, definitely, where he's kind of like hiding his true skills to a degree. But, the main character in this is just kind of an asshole, and he's just gloriously, living it up where he can. So if he sees an opportunity just to like, just a benefit to himself, he will definitely take it and kind of not care who he crushes under his foot along the way.
Oh, that sounds great. Now I totally want to read this.
So it's not even misogyny so much. It's like, it's because it doesn't matter whether it's a girl or a guy or anything. It's just like, if I can win, I do it.
Yeah. Well, his whole motivation to become overpowered, quote unquote, is because he's going to end up getting married to a 40-year-old serial widower who constantly who constantly marries young men and then has them die mysteriously, so she can collect inheritance. And so he has to.
Oh my God! She's a Black Widow. Holy shit!
So it's avoid the bad end as well. It's sort of like that whole Otome avoid your bad end kind of thing as well.
Yeah, and but remember, he's a mob background character who doesn't even appear in the game, so he has no like game breaking knowledge that he can take advantage of. That'll just scoot him by. He's really got to put his life on the line. In some regards.
Well, then that definitely sounds a lot more interesting than I thought it would be. It sounds less cringy than I thought it would be. Okay. All right.
It's worth a read.
Yeah, I think definitely worth checking out at least the first volume at the very least. All right, cool. All right. So next up is the other Tentai Books title. This is a fantasy title. I know. Now that I've said hentai with a T, no one's going to ever hear it. I'm sorry, Tentai Books. I ruined everything for you. You've just
tell them to get a different name.
No, come on. It's not a bad logo and everything else. I'm just being a dick.
I know, but the title is like Tentai.
I've just been a dick and ruined everything for them. I'm sorry. Okay, so this one, it is called Welcome to the Diner of the Exiled. It's a fantasy series. There's currently 2 volumes in Japan. It's ongoing, and there is also a manga for this series. Leave everything to the strongest cook of them all. Backstabbed by those he considered friends, Dennis has been exiled from one of the strongest guilds around, the Silver Wings Battalion. He doesn't think much of it, though, as he was dying to use his level 99 cook skills anyway. That's why he decides to leave the city behind and open up a diner in the countryside. While pursuing his dream, Dennis meets Atriel, a girl exiled from her noble household and relegated to slavery until he saves her. The pair open the diner together, and their first client is an exiled knight from a different guild? How peculiar. But she is not the only customer. A cocky mage and a drastically overworked, yet underpaid sage become regulars as well. The knight brings trouble to the diner at times, but Dennis's cooking skills and beloved butcher knives cut through trouble and hunger alike. Thus begins the legend of Dennis and his diner, the talk of the town.
Yeah, it sounds like a bit of a cross between Restaurant to Another World and Combat Baker. Mm-hmm. And that's not a bad DNA to have, I think.
You know what? I confess, when I found out this had a manga, because I was doing the entry for it on EnglishLightNovels.com, so I was looking to see whether it had a manga or anything else. When I saw there was a manga for it, I did a Google search and did find a fan translation of it. I'm not a big fan of reading that kind of stuff. I like to buy stuff, but I thought, you know what? I'm going to talk about this title. I might as well know what the hell it's about. It is definitely it definitely does have a bit of that Combat Baker element to it. It's more like it's almost like he becomes a bit of a mentor figure to these, younger, less powerful adventurers who are trying to find their place in the world and having a hard time of it, right? And kind of like, giving them a free meal while they look for work and, helping them out of a tight spot. And
I actually like that. It sounds like he's doing all these little things to help these people in small ways. Like, it sounds cool.
Yeah, well, I kind of like... there's not a lot because the manga's recent too. I don't even think it's actually been published yet. I think it's only just coming out in installments in one of the magazines. But I was reading it and I was like, I can see where this could go and become like all of these people become a guild of themselves that he mentors to success. You know what I mean? Like, I could see where this could grow into that kind of thing. Like, I think it's going to be a nice little series. It's definitely got its shtick, I think. Character who's quirky gets into trouble, gets his ass bailed out by the OP baker. But I think it's going to be one of those kind of cool little things where you have these quirky characters that all hang out and in the pub or diner or whatever they want to call it. And, I kind of liked some of the bits that they had with them just sitting in the diner kind of going back and forth. And so, yeah, I think this could be a good one. I'm actually looking forward to this one. All right. So, last one.
Home stretch.
Hey, we're not
this
even...
video only took about an hour.
We're only a little over an hour. Look at that. This might be the shortest episode ever. This one coming to us from J Novel Club, and it is called Wild Times with a Fake Princess. It has 3 volumes, and it is complete, and it is like it's like a sci-fi comedy, actually. Kyohei is the kind of person who cherishes every moment of his peaceful, normal, everyday life. Choose whichever synonym you like. He just wants a quiet life. However, with his dad being involved in some really shady business, his best friend being a wannabe rock star, and his schoolmate Sane just being Sane, that's easier said than done, but he does his best. One day, he ends up accidentally releasing a naked girl from a coffin, who has no idea what normal means. Unfortunately for him, Kyohei can kiss that peace and quiet goodbye. Now, on top of his dad's lack of regard for anything approaching common sense or decency, his friend's thirst for excitement, and his admirers' attention, Kyohei has to deal with a self-proclaimed body double android of a princess from some European country. He just wants off this fake princess's wild ride.
Oh, this is like way early 2000s.
Like,
That's kind of what Sam sold it as. He said this is that kind of novel that people used to read, and we'll see if they still do read it.
well, it seems interesting to me, but at the same time, it seems a lot déjà vu. Like,
Yeah.
well, considering the author, like it kind of screamed Chaika, Coffin Princess, but in modern time.
So I read the first two parts of the pre-pub here, and I think I'll leave it at that. It's not only that the story is very cliche. It's that I really don't like any of the characters. Neither the protagonists they're either completely annoying or complete douchebags.
Oh, great.
And I really can't get invested in a story when I can't stand any of the characters.
Huh.
And some of the comedy is a bit forced. I mean, they have this android robot who is supposed to be the body double of a princess and is supposed to stand in for her at public events, and she stands there naked and doesn't have any idea that people should wear clothes. And in that scene, I counted it, the author states that she's naked 7 times in one scene.
Yeah, you should call her Fail Fake Princess.
Yeah. And then she destroys a couple of TVs because the people inside don't listen to her commands. It's really very far-fetched. So normally I try to read at least the first volume of all the pre-pubs from J-Novel Club, but I don't think I can hold out so long for this one.
Yeah, I'll probably grab the 3 volumes. It's short, so I'll try it out. I'll at least grab the first one. But yeah, it's not much of a commitment if you do decide to try it. But yeah, it sounds like it could be rough.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
I'll
this
at
is
least try the first one.
Well, how early is this? Like, okay, so this is the same author as Coffin Princess, as Blue Steel Blasphemer, Outbreak Company. So, I mean, this is like a experienced author that we have stuff in English of his already. How early does this compare to his other work?
2007, the first volume, and the last volume in 2009.
Right. So do we know when did Outbreak Company come out? I don't remember.
Outbreak Company has been running since 2011.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's kind of where... and when did Chaika come out?
Probably before.
No, actually after. It started in 2010.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
that's
So,
surprising.
so a lot of the stuff that this guy that we know of, for his stuff in terms of what's been adapted into anime and that we do have in English, is after this book. So,
Well, Scrap Princess I'm pretty sure it's before that.
And Blue Steel Blasphemer is from 2015.
Yeah. So it looks like this one is earlier than at least some of the work that is more famous of his. So it'll be, I mean, it sounds to me like Sam's hedging his bets on a known author, but to see whether people are into earlier light novels. So,
yeah, it seems more like a slapstick gag light novel that you used to see a lot more of in that era. So
in the early 2000s, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, with it being so old and with it being so short, I'm going to guess this one was also not a very expensive license. So, yeah.
Well, maybe it was a package deal. I don't know. I don't... Again, I think it's partly because it's a known author. I mean, maybe this speaks to how well Blue Steel Blasphemer and Outbreak Company have done for J-Novel. I don't know. Maybe they're thinking that if it's done, those ones did well, they can kind of piggyback this a little bit on that success. Again, I don't know. I guess we'll see. But I hear what you're saying, Mirage, and I don't know if it's exactly something that I'd be into either, but you know what? There is something to be said for a bit of slapstick, and there is something to be said even as a curious thing to see what light novels were like 13 years ago. Just to kind of see what kind of stuff was being done.
Well, there's
Although
plenty of light novels from 13 years ago that I'd rather have.
Well, I know, and I was gonna say, like, you know, if you do want to read an older light novel, Full Metal Panic, Record of Lodos War, Crest of the Stars, like, I mean, there's a lot of titles.
I'd really like for 12 Kingdoms, for example, that's even older, to be licensed completely.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a ton of titles from older, right? But we'll see what happens. I mean, J Novel Club has done some older rescues like Full Metal Panic, Crest of the Stars, Sorcerer Orphan, Sorcerer Stabber Orphan. So, I mean, they have done stuff, and now they're picking this title up that's from 2007. So you never know what's going to happen down the road.
Yeah, maybe Scrap Princess sometime soon.
Man, how many times have you mentioned Scrap Princess now, Jay?
Dude, I really like that series, okay? And like Tokyo Pop only published 3 books. I want more. I want the rest.
I really like the anime, and I would love to read the novel as well. Yes,
like the novel are a lot more gritty and like dark fantasy than the anime. The anime was very soft tone. It was good, but they're two completely different experience.
Well, who knows? I don't know what to say. But, you know, obviously Full Metal Panic and Crest of the Stars are doing okay. I mean, they've put them out in those nice omnibus versions in print. So they're obviously doing all right. So, you know, fingers crossed, maybe we'll get a few more rescues as the time goes by. So you never know. Just keep talking about it, Jay. I'll see what happens.
Yay!
All right, so those are all the light novels that were licensed within the past just 2 weeks. I don't even know if it was 2 weeks. It might have been just the last week and a half. But anyway, so a bunch of titles coming out. Obviously, the J Novel Club titles, those ones are starting up in June. You can already read part of them on the J Novel website if you have a membership. The Seven Seas titles, most of them, they have publication, like in terms of print, set for later this year, I believe October, November time. But as always, they'll have digital pre-releases probably a couple months in advance of that. And like I said, for Tentai Books, we know at least that their Slice of Life book comes out at the end of this month. We don't have an announcement on Diner yet in terms of when that one will be released, but I imagine it'll probably be pretty soon. So all right, so gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me in this episode. In our next episode, speaking of Tentai Books, we have a special guest going to be with us from Tentai Books to discuss their company and maybe get a glimpse of where they're going and what they're going to be doing in the future. They are actually also publishing their books in Spanish, so we'll talk maybe a little bit about the Spanish market. Maybe get a little sneak peek about what the future holds for their company and for us light novel fans along with it. So, in the meantime, thank you very much for joining me, guys. And to our listeners, as always, thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next time. Till then, bye-bye for now. For show notes and related links, visit lightnovelpodcast.com.